Okay, what I'm going to be showing you today is a little demonstration of how I would approach recreating this very famous painting by Monet from 1872. It's called Impression Sunrise. Monet had not had a terribly good start in his career. In the 1860s, he was very depressed. He wasn't selling any paintings, nobody was taking any notice of him. He actually tried to kill himself by throwing himself into the Seine River in Paris, and but someone rescued him. In 1870 to 71, there was the Franco-Prussian War, which was a very horrible war, and the Prussians treated the Parisians terribly, and Monet and Pissarro and a few others, they fled to London. In London, Monet came across the artist Turner, our famous artist, and he was overwhelmed with what he saw, and that basically was the confirmation of what he was doing in his paintings. He realised that somebody had done it before. He wasn't crazy. This was something that actually worked. And the whole idea behind Impressionism is that the word impressionist is actually a little bit misleading. It's basically a painting what is fleetingly seen. There's a recognition that the clouds do not stay in the sky, that when we see the world, we are actually looking at light, and that light doesn't stay forever. It goes quickly. So you're catching things very, very fast. And so the painting is very, very fast and very, very atmospheric. Now, when he came back to France, this is actually a very industrial part of France. It's the sun is actually coming through the smoke from the factories. It's not a very attractive place, but he looked out and he saw the sun rising and he captured this on the spot. It's believed he probably only took 3/4 of an hour to do this painting. And when he exhibited it in the Salon des Refusés, people laughed at the paintings. They thought they were ridiculous. They're more used to very, very finished, classical-looking paintings, and they were laughing at these paintings, which were just like daubs of colour, daubs of paint. They couldn't understand them at all. And one critic just looked at this with the title Impression Sunrise, and he said these guys are just a bunch of impressionists. Now, the word impression had been used in art before. It was used to describe a study, a quick, oil sketch of something from which you would later do a finished painting. But it took on a new life, and the name stuck, and they referred to themselves as the Impressionists. They took that name, and so this painting is probably one of the most important and famous paintings in the world. And what I'm going to do is show you how I would approach copying this. Now, we've looked at the work of Seurat, that pointillism, which is very precise, very exact. This is something quite different. This is something really quite spontaneous. And the painting I'm going to do, I'm not so interested in doing like a facsimile, a forgery of Monet. What I'm interested in doing is getting into the spirit of Monet and looking at how he would approach something like that. And that's what I'm going to do. So that's what I want you to do as well. Hi there, so here we are. Now what I've done here is I've printed out the painting by Monet, downloaded it off Google Images, printed it out. I've done what I did before, if you've done the Seurat exercise, with a soft pencil, something like a 6B, 4B, I've scribbled over the back, over the most important parts, because there's not much detail on this picture. And then what I've done is just hold it against my A4 piece of paper, and then I've drawn around the shapes with a hard pencil, which is a 4H, a 2H would be fine. And I've just basically got the basic composition down onto the sheet. This just gives me a guide. Remember, when we do this painting, we want the same spontaneity that Monet used. and so that's what we're going to be doing. Now my palette, I'm going to be using just at the moment just 3 colours. I've got well, basically the primary colours. I've got a cadmium yellow, a cadmium red, and what we call a cerulean blue, because looking at my printout, that's what I think they're using. I've also got a darker blue for when we do the darker boat that's in the middle of the picture, and I've used, this is actually called a primary blue, but something like ultramarine, or you may want to go darker to something like a Prussian blue, but this will suffice just to get the idea across. So it's just yes, as I say, just 4 colours we're going to use for this. And I've got my water. I'm going to use 1 jam jar of water for my warm colours, which is my red and my yellow, and which I'm going to mix to create the yellow of the orange, sorry, of the sun. And then I've got another one which I'm going to use for the colder colours, the blues. And I'm also going to do the same idea that I showed you with the Seurat painting. I've just got some, these are very old brushes, they're cheap brushes, they're nothing special, but I'm just going to use 1 brush for each different colour, so I didn't get my colours muddied. And then I'm also got some paper towel just for wiping things on. Apron, because you can't get acrylic out of clothes, and I've got my newspaper down on my desk here. So let's just start off, and I'm painting onto a piece of cartridge paper. It doesn't have to be canvas, just for something like this when you're practicing, cartridge paper is fine. And what I'm going to do first of all is, you'll see that there's a kind of a very much a washy sort of colour. Now if you, what I'm going to endeavour to do is get this brownish colour by mixing a bit of that blue with the orange which I'm going to create. And I'm just going to basically go over the whole thing first of all, and I'm just going to create these washes. This was painted in oil paint. I'm using acrylic, which I assume you're going to be doing as well. So with quite a broad brush, let me just mix up, and let's get some water over here, so I don't keep leaning across. Let's just mix up an orange like this. Okay, okay, oh, really yellow here. Okay, and I'm just going to do, and this needs to be quite watered down, quite thin. When you're doing an impressionist painting and you're going to be putting a lot of paint down on the on it, just keep the paint thin. That's one of the most important things I was told when I was first started painting by one of my teachers. Keep it thin first of all, don't go in with it really thick. And then we're going to do something where we're going to put in a little bit of this blue. Okay, and it goes muddy brown. That's fine. Let's have a muddy brown. Why not? Okay, and can you see how fast and how rough all of this is? Okay, I'm just going over thin also so that we can still see the pencil drawing, and just give us as a guide. Okay, and then there's little bits of this sort of browny colour just coming in here. Can you see how loosely I'm doing it? This is fine. This is you know, don't get all precious about it. Okay, so there's my sort of browny colour. And then the next colour I'm going to do is I'm going to do this cerulean blue, and I'm going to water this down so it's very, very thin. Okay, and I'm just going to go over the top and kind of paint in thinner than that actually. In fact, it could be a really much drier brush. I think I'm going to do use a drier brush here. Here we go. And I'm going to just go in and do these. Oops. Whoa, great big lump of it. Doing a bit of a Jackson Pollock, don't want that. Okay, just very spontaneous, very fast sort of painting. Okay, this is nice when it goes to this kind of very thin sort of colour. Something like this. So I'm going to use my jam jar used for cold colours. Wash some of that out. But I could even use the towel just to sort of like rub it in, just spread it over. There we go. Actually, this is drying really quick. This is great. This is what I want. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll stop there, and I'll just show you a still of what we've done to start off with here. Okay, I just want to show you this because I wasn't 100% happy with that bit I've just shown you. But what I did do is, if I can show you this now, you'll see that it's gone a little bit grayer. What I did was I mixed in a little bit of white acrylic, not too much, in with my bluey mixed up muddy colour, and I'm actually a lot happier with that. I think it's closer to what Monet did. So that all I've done there is just mixed up, as I say, a white in with my blue, but it's that what's important is that same spontaneity. It's rough. We're not talking about nice, neat painting here. You're not going to learn much from nice, neat painting, and frankly, I don't like nice, neat painting. So can you see how rough that is? I've just gone over that with that white mixed with the blue and a little bit of that orange, so it's a dirty sort of grey blue colour. But that, I think, is far closer to what Monet did. So that's what I'm going to work on. Okay. So here we have it. This is our first impression, and as you can see, it's very, very rough. That's exactly what I want you to do. I don't want you to get too bogged down and think, oh, is that brushstroke in the right place? Is that, brushstroke too thick or anything like that? All I'm interested in doing is getting the sort of the feeling of this. Now, this was originally painted onto canvas, and you can actually see paper showing through on mine. There would have been canvas showing through. That doesn't matter for the moment. We're going to stick with this. So this is our base on which we're going to now put some more detail. Okay, so let's get on with this thing now, and we've got our wash down, and the next thing I want to do is I'm going to start painting over the top some of these, what you could call it detail. It's not very detailed, but some of the shapes that we're beginning to see in this image. And so here I have a nice chisel brush, my cold water water jam jar, and I'm going to, with this cerulean blue, which has got a little bit of this white and impurity mixed up. This is something you'll sort of, as you get to know it, you'll get sensitive towards this. Can you see there's a little bit of that white coming in, a little bit of that impurity? Don't worry about that, just play around. And I'm going to start putting in things like, here's, we've got like a far distant shore in the background here, and it goes across like this. And then we have here some kind of, like, it looks like a boat here. And remember, they were just getting the spirit of this thing, because really, that's exactly what Monet did. You got some, I can't work out whether these are ship masts or whether these are factories with smoke coming out, factory chimneys with smoke coming out. And I don't think Monet really cared either. That it doesn't really matter. It's whatever kind of it looks like. Okay. So here I'm going to have some smoke going up here. Whoa, okay. And then over this side we have what looks like a massive jetty of some kind. Really quite a large slabby thing coming across like this. And then it looks like there's cranes or something on it. Certainly a crane here going off at an angle. Other things here. And then we're just with the... As our brush gets dry, remember a bit like when we did with the Chinese painting, some of you will remember that, when the brush gets a bit dry, don't replenish it, use some of this kind of whispery dry effect, because that's exactly what Monet has done. Okay, some of this coming out here, and there's some of the reflections, so this is how he's done it, and there's some kind of strokes going across. That's all it needs to be. The reflections of these masts or chimneys, whatever they are, coming down here. Okay, this is the reflection going into the water. Okay, and then we have these boats, and you'll notice that there are three. There's one here which is near the back here, and it's just basically little some people inside. That's it, simple as that. Okay, now I'm going to mix into my my cerulean blue, a darker blue. Let's get this darker, okay, like this, because as this is something called aerial perspective. Aerial perspective is basically where, as things go away into the distance, they become paler and colder and greyer. And so as you want things coming towards you, they will get darker. So these boats which are coming towards us, each boat is darker than the first one. So this is, you've got a little man on here, okay, doesn't have to be, okay, and then you've got these little, tiny little strokes ever so often. Okay, ever so often these are strokes going in. Okay, and then we can go back and we can use some cerulean strokes, because some of these strokes aren't as dark as that. So I'm just going to put some tiny little bit of cerulean down. Okay, a little bit of this paler colour here, just make it worse. Quite nice actually there. And then I'm going to put some cerulean strokes down like this. Okay, and then the piece de resistance is that orange sun. That sun that's setting through the smog. And what I'm going to first of all do, I'm going to take a smaller brush, and I'm going to use a smaller brush to do this orange, which I've got here. Okay, and I'm just going to do some strokes like this and going like this. Just really quite simple, and as they come towards the foreground, they become more broken up. But they get more compacted as you go towards the distance. Whoops, a little bit thick there. But I'm going to add a little bit more yellow, because you can actually see the yellow, tiny little bit. You can actually see the yellow coming out more. In this, yeah, bits of yellow coming out, yeah. Okay. And the final part is the sun itself, and I'm going to throw caution to the wind, and I'm going to do it with my finger. I'm going to get some of this orange on my little finger like this, okay, and I'm just going to plonk it on here. There we go. Good to get it in the right place, just like that. Okay, it's not the perfect place, a little bit of yellow in there. There we go. I'm going to put it there. And so there you have Monet's Sunrise on a bit of cartridge paper, and that's all I want you to do. Okay. And here we have the final thing. No, it's not a facsimile. It won't sell as a forgery, but it's basically doing exactly what I want us to do, which is just, as I say, get into the spirit of things. Look at how Monet uses paint spontaneously. Look how you can do it like that. Look how he uses just only a few colours, what, about 4 colours? And, you know, things like the aerial perspective, the fact that the boats become darker as they come forwards, how things become misty and murkier as they go towards the horizon, as they go away from you, the fact that that light you can see is breaking through everything, the way you can get just a feeling of water just with a few brush strokes and some very scrubby, messy sort of paint. This is what we're looking at with Impressionism, how to actually create something spontaneously without getting too precise and loosening up a bit. Okay.